Good morning, and thank you again for joining me on another session of Broken to Beautiful. It has been quite a week, and we are getting along so well, making our way from one stage to another. And all along, we are learning how to progress from where we are to where we needed to be, how to go from our broken to our beauty. And it has been a fascinating journey. I love the stories that you guys have been sharing with me. I love the messages that you've been sending to my inbox. I love your comments, your interaction. You sure make this awesome. Good morning to you, Amy. Thank you for joining us. Now, this topic might not sound like the most exciting topic, but the thing is, it is such a reality that we struggle with when it comes to our healing and where we need to be for our healing to take place. So we're going to talk about people who are dependent, codependent, some of the terms we'll say, versus interdependency. You see, in relationships, you can either be a person, I could even throw another term inside there, independent, which is what a lot of people say. I'm going to be independent, I'm going to do me, and you could figure out what it is you want. The thing though about relationships is that you got to choose what's the healthiest way. And I'm not just talking male, female. I'm not talking just intimate relationships. I'm talking any relationship. A lot of the time we end up in our hurt places because of the type of connections that we develop. So we want to make sure that we develop the healthiest type of connections, and that is it. That is what I want to talk to us a little bit about. It will help you to assess whether or not the way that you are connecting in your relationships is setting you up for disappointment, or if it could be the best thing that is happening to you. At the end of the session, some of the information I would have shared, you would be able to take it, look at how you form relationships, look at how you connect to your friends, to your family, to the significant other, and then you would be able to determine, look, I've been doing it this way, but maybe that could be contributing to why I end up hurt in my relationships. So I want to talk a little bit about the independent person, the person who says, you know what, I ignore others, and we just happen to share the same space. I have seen relationships where people just exist in a space. They just are there together. I've seen workplace where everybody seems to be a unit by themselves. And even sometimes when you think about the world, there are some people who just say, look, I can ignore everybody else. We just happen to share the same planet, the same island, the same country, and I will go on my way. And they just want to deal with everything on their own, and they will not acknowledge that they need support. I don't know if you know anybody like that. This is the independent thinking. It's saying, I can do this, I can handle everything. And a lot of the times they tend to push people away who really can add to their lives. So the independent thinker is all about, I existing in my space, you just happen to be there, and they only focus on them, and they would be struggling beneath the weight of their life. They would be feeling so pressured, and they're fighting still. They would rather drop dead trying to do it by themselves rather than acknowledge that you need some support, you need help, you need somebody who you could connect to, whether it be a friend, a family member. And I know that a lot of people say, oh, you can't depend on anyone. That's not quite true. You can't depend on some people. 7 billion people on this planet. You can depend on someone. If you live on an island that have 3,000, 30,000, 40,000, a couple million, if you live on the continent, wherever it is you live, in all those people, there is somebody that we can share our space with willingly. The independent way of thinking really just makes us really lonely, and it emphasizes hurt, and it emphasizes negative, and a lot of the time we cut people out, and then we say nobody's here to help me. And yes, Amy, Amy says, I used to be this way, now I'm totally opposite after prison. You got to realize at some point, Amy, and that had to have been quite a trying experience, because now you realize that when you're there, you really need to have somebody in your corner. It's good to form healthy relationships and connection, you know. So she said, yes, we absolutely need to depend on others. Yes, we do. You know, so that brings me to another point of dependence, because we could go from one extreme of never wanting anybody to support us to a totally different extreme. And I'm going to interject here some of the things, the mindsets that feed this independence. Maybe because we have been hurt. Maybe we've been hurt repeatedly. Maybe we are scared of others seeing our shortcomings, our flaws. Maybe we just don't want to be disappointed. And so we decide, I'm doing this all by myself. But you're killing yourself, because the truth is, you can't do every single thing by yourself unless you're going to limit your world to just a few things. Amy says, it broke down all that unhealthy ways I used to think. I could imagine something such as going to prison, Amy, would do that. I could imagine that. But a lot of people, some people, you see, you went in a different direction to some people that I've known, because some people, they don't learn in the way that you did, Amy. They don't learn from the experience. They don't learn how to apply a negative thing and make it positive. But it is awesome that you actually realize, look, this is bottom, and the only way I could choose to go from now on is up. Or stay on the bottom and maybe dig a hole further. And I'm glad to hear that you actually used such an experience for transformation. Hi, Sandra. Thank you so much for hopping on. You've been such a faithful follower every day. So yeah, we are talking about the independent thinker, the one who thinks I'm handling it all by myself and I don't need anybody. And then we've got dependence, which is like the other extreme. And this is the person who, they are guided by what other people think or ask them to do. They're trying to please others without any regard for what they want. So on one end, you've got the independent thinker saying, I don't need anybody. I can do it by myself. And on the other extreme, you have the person who totally depends on everybody. Oh my goodness, that is straining. That is like so stressful on relationships. It is stressful on your family. It is stressful on your children. It is stressful on your significant other. And it is even stressful on you, because if you do not stop to think about what it is you want, how can anybody give it to you? I have had encounters with people. I've had encounters where individuals will say, but you know what I'm thinking. How on earth do I know what you're thinking? Or you know how I feel. How do I know how you feel if you don't tell me how you feel? And sometimes, you know, you ask people, I want to get you a gift. What is it that you would like to have? I don't know. Do you want a gift? Yes, I want a gift. So what would you like to have? What do you like? I don't know. People will not be able to please you if you do not know what you want. And the other bad thing about dependency is that if you are going to just totally depend on other people to tell you, look, you must do this, do that, every single thing, every single time, you're setting yourself up to be hurt. So you want to make sure that you're not just like over there like an island by yourself, independent, and you don't want the dependency either, where the person is, it's all about what they think, what they want, always directing you as if they're the traffic police of your life. You need to take some control, and you need to know what it is you want for yourself, and you need to make sure that you're able to interject that into your relationships that you are having. And yeah, as Amy said, yeah, we need balance in our life. Exactly. So it's not one thing or the other. There must be that sense of balance. And when we get to a place of balance, it's where happiness resides. And we're going to get that into that next week in one of our videos, where your happy is, where your beauty is. You know, as we wrap up, I can't believe the month have flown by so quickly. So, and then we've got, so you got codependent couples or interdependent couples. And these are the people who, when they're in a relationship, no matter the type, whether it's with family, with friends, with their children, with their significant other, whoever it is, when they're having a relationship, they're acting and taking into account their needs, and at the same time they're caring about the needs of others instead of either just please the person, or instead of ignore the person. So what you have there in the interdependent relationship or the codependent relationship is the individual who has understood, look, I've got needs, you have got needs, and they both need to be met, and it is possible. Sometimes people say in relationships, no matter what the type, oh, you've got to learn to compromise. And I always tell people there are some things you do not want to compromise on. You do not want to compromise on your values. You do not want to compromise on the dreams that really drive you, your passions. You want to make sure, you need to know what the things are that you need, you truly need for yourself. And these are the things you don't want to compromise on. Can I compromise on whether or not my husband leave a toilet seat up or down? Yeah, I realize in life that sometimes you just don't sweat the small stuff. But you see, the things that are important to me, my spirituality is important to me, I need to maintain that. We don't compromise on that. I am a person who likes to give. I mightn't give to every single body who come across and ask, because people really need to take responsibility for their lives, and I do not like to enable negative behaviors. But when I choose to give, I give, and so he can support that. And I am a person who needs time for myself, and so I make sure that he understands that. The thing is, for a lot of us, we go into relationships, we form friendships, we form intimate relationships, even how we deal with our family and our children. We are connecting to them in ways that just feed their needs, and we say that we are sacrificing because we love. I have to go quiet there because that really disturbs me. Now, we make sacrifices, yeah. We make compromises, yeah. But if you are dead and everything in you is dead, you have nothing but death to pass on to the people that you love. And I am very serious about that. If you are not feeding your needs, when you pour out into others, it will be the dead that is inside of you that you're pouring it out, and you're convincing yourself that it is, oh, I'm giving my best. How can you give your best when you are not making sure that your best is kicking alive and fed? And you feed your best by making sure that you pay attention to what you need in your life. I'm not talking about what you want. I'm not talking about, oh, I need a guy, or I need friends that could go out and party every week, or I need good clothes. Those are wants. I'm talking about needs. I'm talking about your emotional needs. I'm talking about your spiritual needs. I'm talking even, yes, about your physical needs. You need to make sure that every aspect of you is being fed. If that is not the case, you will be dying on the inside. And when you pour yourself out to the people you claim to love, you'll be pouring your dead self out onto them, and you call it sacrifice. Sometimes people say I'm a little bit harsh, but sometimes I get a little tough so that a message can get across to us. Too many of us are living either dependent or we are either dependent, or we are thinking we need to be independent. But we have yet to achieve the art of living with each other interdependently, or as codependency, as some people would call it. Hi Denise, thank you so much for joining us. You've been very faithful as well. You ladies have been so awesome. And so codependent relationships, usually they're the ones that are more balanced. I think I'm mixing up my term. Interdependence and codependency is two different things, because the codependency, really, you got couples that it's out of balance. That's the one where you are dependent on the other person, and so you got a struggle that is constantly happening for control, and so you would find that there's an imbalance in the relationship. And persons who have these kind of relationships, how do you know if you're in a codependent relationship or you're totally dependent on another person? Is you feel anxious and resentful, and you feel guilty, and then there are these major mood swings, and you try to control each other in the relationship. Yeah. And some people even try to control by always seeming as if, oh, I'm giving in. Sometimes that is a method of control, is to get you to do what I want. And if you're throwing tantrums and it's the tears and stuff like that, whether it would be family, like I said, or friends, or even with your children, you're kind of guilt tripping them, so to speak, and telling, that is an unhealthy relationship. And if your relationships cannot tolerate disagreement and it's always blame for one another for causing your problems, that is codependency or dependency, as you may term it. That is unhealthy. So I needed to clarify that. I kept mixing up codependency and interdependency, so I needed to clarify that. Now, interdependency, what makes interconnections healthy is that it is not codependency. It requires two capable people who has the ability to function independently, who has the ability to function on their own as individuals, coming together. Remember yesterday I talked about cultivating your successful self, creating your most successful self, your inner self. That is what you have happening when you have interconnection or interconnected relationships that are based on interconnectability. You've got people, two healthy individuals who understand what they need, and they're able to function without someone there, so that when they do get into a relationship, they're just bringing their health, their vibrancy into the relationship. When couples love each other, it's normal to feel attached. It's normal to feel the desire for closeness. It's normal to feel concern for one another. And so you will have dependency on each other. That is normal. And your lives become intertwined, and it is an equal sharing actually of power. Whereas independency is like what one person wants that they keep doing. It's like when somebody say, do this, do this, do this, I want this. You might make a suggestion, hey, it's our night out, I would like to go here or do this activity. Hi Lestra, thank you so much for joining us. If you're afraid to speak up about what you would rather do, or if you find yourself it's only one person who sets the pace and of what you should do, then that's not a healthy relationship. That is codependent. That is depending on another individual totally. They're directing everything about your life. Both of you should be able to share, look, let's go here, and then the next time somebody else is saying let's go here. So you have a certain amount of dependency on each other when you have an interdependent relationship. You have a connection that says, I care about you. I want to be there for you. And so you guys connect on that level. But if that individual wasn't there, you're still able to function as a healthy individual, as a healthy thinking individual, emotionally stable individual, not going off the deep end, being all crazy and acting all crazy and stuff. So they take, in the interdependent relationship, each person takes responsibility for their own feelings and actions and the contributions they make to the relationship. Dependent individuals are always blaming the other person. You ever have people like that? They always blame the other person. You hurt me, and it's your fault that I acted this way, and it's your fault that I got angry, and everything is always somebody else's fault. Hi, Roseanne, thank you so much for hopping on with us. It is always somebody else's fault, and they never take responsibility. But when you're in a healthy relationship, even if it's your mother, the thing sometimes with us when we become adults and as we grow, our parents can really hurt us, but we need to even establish the kind of relationships that we are having with our parents. Because sometimes people say, oh, it's my mother, so I got to do what they say. But what if what your mother keeps asking you to do, or your father keeps asking you to do, is stripping you of your dignity? It's stripping you of, it's like you want to help, but you can't keep doing it because it's taking something from you that seems to keep you stifled and make you feel frustrated and hurt. If you are doing something for someone and you're constantly feeling pressured and hurt about it, then you need to rethink the connections that you are having. If this person is sucking you dry, If it seems as if you keep giving, and you can't seem to get, and I'm not talking about just giving physically. When they're hurt, you're there for them. When they're looking to hang out, you're there for them. When they want to try an activity, you're there for them. If they need a little help somewhere, you're there for them. But then when it's your turn for listening ear, they have their own story. They don't have time for you. That's not a healthy relationship. And if in your relationship it's always a battle for power and always a blame game, that's not a healthy relationship. Healthy relationships, interdependent relationships, each person take responsibility for their own action. They don't go off blaming the other person for why they got upset. You're your own, you know why you got upset. Their actions might have stirred you up, but you got vexed and did something crazy because of you, and you got to take responsibility for your own reaction. So in an interdependent relationship, that's a healthy relationship, you're not afraid to be honest. I remember when I met my husband and I started to share my story, and like you would have heard, I'd gone from sexual abuse, incest, you're talking teachers and, and emotional abuse, physical abuse, and I was suicidal for many, many years, and I used to hurt myself. I would take a bottle and hit at my hand just so that I could remind myself that I could feel, because inside I felt so numb, as if I was just operating by a remote, just putting one foot in front of the other and just taking one step at a time, but not really connected to anything, not feeling too much, because you try not to feel, because when you do feel, what comes up is the pain of your experiences. And I've been there, and persons told me, you should wait until y'all are married to share these things with him. They said you can't tell them you can't say everything. You meet him, you're getting to know each other, and I think in getting to know each other, that's why we went through the stages. We went through the stages of friendship, just being acquaintance, to friendship, to then courtship. We went through those stages. So they were like, oh, don't tell him everything. You should not, he's gonna leave, or he's gonna throw it back in your face. But let me tell you something. When you've been hurt and crushed, and you feel like life has railroaded you, and you've been to the bottom, and you've risen with your dignity intact, I tell people, I've been hurt by my past, and it can't hurt my future unless I allow it. So when I decided to share my past with my husband to be, a lot of my friends said, you're gonna be lonely, he's gonna leave, he's gonna throw it back in your face, he won't love you totally, he will always see you through your experiences, he will see you in light of the past as if you're dirty and tarnished. Well, I stand to witness that I never had that experience with him. If he has thought it, he sure never showed it. And he has not been the individual that uses my past to beat me down on the head, to try to control me or to throw it back at me. As a matter of fact, he has supported me and supported my healing process. And that is what happens when you meet a healthy individual who's capable of seeing the value in you as a person and not the disaster that your past was, especially if it was as a result of things that you could not control. I did not, as a child, go around and say, look me here, abuse me. I did not say that. But when that power is taken out of your control, so you've got to be honest. In healthy relationships, there's honesty. And if somebody cannot handle your honesty about what you feel and who you are and the things that you need, then it's okay to keep stepping. Because I keep saying that there are 7 billion people on this earth. There must be friends. There must be people who will come like family. There must be some kids that you may or may not have that you adopt, who will see the value in you, who you can be honest with, who you can share who you truly are with, and they would love you into your healing. That is a trademark of healthy relationships. And if you are not meeting people who are supporting who you are, who are understanding your needs, who are paying the attention to you that you need paid to you, who don't want to hear about what you need. If you're not meeting those people, then I'd boldly tell you, you need to change your circles. Because a lot of the times we become familiar with the people we are associated with. We become familiar. They say, oh, it's family. You know what? There are some people who are related to me that I don't hate them. I don't hate them, but I do not have a conversation with. Do you know why? Because every time it's either that they need something. It's never about how I'm doing. It is always some negativity they're bringing into my space. It is never anything positive. They're only there to suck from you. And they're mean in some of the things they're saying. There are families that I would avoid. And there are some people who were cut off friends because of how they were. When you know what it is you need, you do make sure every aspect of your life lined up. And there were times when it felt like I had nobody. It was just me and me alone, or maybe my mother by a phone call. You understand? But I started to change my circles. I started to meet different people, whether it's through volunteering somewhere, and I started to pay more attention to how people treated me. When I treated them, if we were having a mutual connection, that is interdependency. When I realized that I could put forward my needs, they could put forward their needs, and we both worked at helping each other meet their needs and their goals. And that's when I started to realize the difference in relationship. But sometimes we get bogged down and say, it's my family, it is my friend. Here is what? Family love. And love does not say you give me your heart and soul and your body and your mind and everything that you got, and then you just a carcass lying on the side of the road. Love does not say that. If that's how family and friends are treating you, if when you're really in need, there really isn't a hand to hold, not even money. You're not talking about having money. I'm talking about your emotional needs. If they can't take the time to listen to you, if you call and they say, look, I'm at work, but I will see you after work, and they leave work and they come to find you, even if they got to drag their kids with you, you know that's a person who's really sacrificing for you. And I get passionate about this because our people too often sit in what is familiar, and our familiarity starts to suffocate us. We stick in neighborhoods that we know we should move out of, even though we're making a little bit more extra money, or we could go somewhere else that have houses that are cheap, but we stay with what is familiar. And then we say, I want change, but we're clinging on to the things that are familiar, and they're killing us, and we will not make a move. If you are not getting what you want from the people who are around you, change your circles. Somebody have to hear me. You've got to take some responsibility for your life. And we got to stop making excuses for why people treat us less than we deserve. Some people are just downright selfish. And some people are downright mean. And they may be family, and they might be our significant other, and sometimes they may even be our kids. But we've got to recognize them for what they are, who they are, and deal accordingly. And if it is suffocating you, you need to decide whether you want to suffocate or survive. That is what you need to decide. So when you're being all dependent in your relationship, you've given away all your power and you're just doing everything to please this person, you take responsibility for that, because that's a decision you have made. You know who I might forgive for something like that? People who got people holding a gun to their head. If somebody's holding a gun to my head and they tell me do this or do that because I want to live, I might just do it. So if you're in a relationship and you don't got a gun to your head, or you have some friends and you have a gun to your head and you're doing every single thing this person wants, taking no account of your feelings, and it's always a power struggle or a blame game, and you always walk away from that encounter or those connections feeling empty and disappointed, then you are being dependent, and it is unhealthy. Interdependent relationships are what you want to strive for. You want to be able to share what you need, who you are, your dreams, your passions, your goals, and know that that person will help you support them. My husband knows nothing at all about motivational speaking or coaching. Well, he's a good motivator, but he's not the one who gets up on a stage and do this. And he doesn't sit down and create courses and all this stuff to help other people to heal. I do that. But I've got 100% support. He would listen to me. When I try to teach him about certain things, he pays attention, and he might not have any interest in all of this, but he's interested in me and that I succeed. When you're in interdependent relationships, that is what you start to feel. Though the person doesn't grasp everything about your job or what you're passionate about, they're still there with you. When you have an event, they show up. When you're planning something, they listen to you, even though sometimes they miss some of the details, and they will give their feedback because they're concerned about you. So that is what happens in interdependent relationship. And these are the kind of relationship that it lowers your risk, your chances of there being hurt. You'll be disappointed. Y'all will have arguments. Yeah, we got arguments. Oh yeah, I'm a little fiery, and I could be a little stubborn sometimes, and sometimes he's got to pull me back and say, hey, but we are able to then sit down and it's like, okay, I was wrong. I felt this way, and this is why I felt this way. And you share, you're open, you're honest, and you do not go into relationships deceiving people. How on earth do you think you deceive somebody by not sharing with them your real needs and who you are and your wants, because you just want to be with them, and you deceive them? Y'all get together, maybe you get married, you live together or whatever, and you never tell them about the truth of who you are, experiences you've had, and then they find out from someone else, or maybe they don't even find out, but you start acting in certain ways. How do they understand why you think certain things and why you behave in certain ways, why you act in certain ways, if you never told them? And if you're going to start your connections by lying, it's going to die with a lie or in some disaster. If you start on the wrong foot, it's going to end on the wrong foot. If you be honest and that person cannot accept your honesty, then it's okay to find somebody else in this other 7+ billion people who will appreciate the good in you. Relationships don't have to hurt. They'll be challenging. And there are outside forces that will challenge you, because I cannot tell anybody it's all paradise and unicorns and angels over my head and music playing. It is not all that. We're talking to individuals here that came and tried to, and you try to mesh your life together. And it's the same thing even with friends. I clash with friends, but my really good friends, when something happened between us and we are angry at each other, we could take a little moment, breathe, and then we can sit down and talk about it and say, look, you said this, this, and this, and this is why I feel it. These are the people I treasure. And even as I say that, there are two persons that instantly pop into my head that I know I have that kind of connection with, that I call friends. They're like sisters, actually. And the same thing I try with my mom. We have worked at developing that very same relationship. I like that if my mom ticks me off, and mothers can really get to us. If my mom ticked me off, I could go and tell my mom, look, you did this, this, and this, and I did not like it. I don't do everything to please my mother. I don't. Because I'm an individual, and she understands and respects that. And she sure don't do everything to please me. And I could respect that. Same thing with my husband. When it comes to my little baby girl, that's the same thing I'm trying to develop, even though she's only a year old. I am trying to let her know that her feelings matter. The things she wants to do matter. So these are the kind of relationships you need. You don't need to be starting relationships on a deceptive note. And a lot of the times it's because we're deceiving ourselves why we look to deceive others. So we are talking dependency versus interdependency. Dependency, you've given away your power, and there's always this struggle to control, and you're always doing what the other person wants and pleasing them, and even when it's not what you want to do or what makes you happy. Interdependent relationship are what we strive for. It means that these are my needs. You got two healthy individuals coming together. They can operate on their own. And they come together to share a space. And they say, these are my needs. These are the things that are concerned me. And you are just as concerned about their needs as they are concerned about you, as if it was your own. And so what you do is that you feed each other emotionally. And that's how relationships blossom. And that's how you end up with good relationship. But it must be two persons connecting on that level. If you have an imbalance in that relationship where you're just one person in control of the other person, and only one set of people needs to be met, and only every now and again they might throw you a bone, so to speak, you need to rethink those relationships, those connections. So I just really wanted, this was more of, a way to heal, on our way to healing, that we learn the skills that are necessary. We learn to pay attention. We get information that we could use to help us build better relationships, to help us assess our present relationships. But in it all, it starts with you. If you do not know what you want, it will be hard, almost impossible for somebody else to be able to give you what you want. That's a heavy topic for this Friday, isn't it? Now, this is our last topic for this week. We are here Mondays to Fridays at 12 noon Eastern, sharing insights on how you can grow and develop and go from your place of broken to your place of beauty, because we weren't designed to live broken. Life and people try, but you've got the power and the control to change what you do not like in your life. Earlier I posted a quote that said, if you do not like the script, the story of your life, change the script, because you are the author. Thank you so much for joining me. We continue again next week. Oh my goodness. And that would be what, the last week? August is almost over already. And you guys have faithfully turned up. Remember, share the video. Share the video, share the information. Let people see and know what it is they can do that to help themselves in this whole process, because life is tough as it is. So any kind of a tool that we can get to help us go forward, we want to grab it. So share the video. Join me on Twitter. Join me on Instagram. Join me on LinkedIn. Join the group Unleashed. You could click on the button up under the cover page to join the group. We share lots of insight, loads of insight, all kind of topics, and stuff. And I still do have a very special coming up for you near the end of the whole series, so you want to make sure that you keep tuning in. On the last day of the series, I want to open it up for you to, I want you to ask questions. So if you want to send me your questions before, you could always send me in the little messenger. You could send me a message, a private message with your questions, and what I will try to do is dedicate that session to answering questions, concerns, struggles that you have. Thank you so much for joining me on Broken to Beautiful. It is definitely a great road that we are on, and I am happy to see that there's so many people hungry to know how they can live in their beautiful space. If you want to know about the entire package and the special that we've got going on, send me a message, B2B, and I'd be sure, more than happy to share the details with you. Remember, share the video. Thanks again. Have yourself a good one.